5 economy and finance ministers are asking the EU for a tax on energy surplus profits to curb price increases.
At least 15 people have been killed as Russia unleashes a massive drone and missile assault on Ukraine.
The US and Iran race to find a missing US pilot downed by Iran as Lebanon is struck by intense Israeli bombing. Economy and finance ministers from Italy, Germany, Spain, Portugal and Austria are asking the EU for a tax on energy surplus profits to curb price increases, using the extra profits that companies are accumulating thanks to rising fuel prices. The 5 ministers who wrote to EU Climate Commissioner Wopke Hoekstra pointed out that actions taken at national level on excise duty must be accompanied by a joint effort. They propose reviving an EU-style solidarity contribution that raised about €28 billion by taxing excess fossil fuel profits after the Ukraine war price surge. Hans Stegman, chief economist at Triodos Bank, said windfall taxes are a no-brainer when a crisis generates large windfall profits for fossil fuel producers.
At least 15 people have been killed after a wave of Russian missile and drone strikes hit Ukraine Friday and into Saturday, including a massive overnight assault near Kyiv. Regional officials say 1 person was killed and 8 wounded in strikes on 3 towns surrounding the capital, while casualties were also reported in Sumy, Kherson, Kharkiv, Donetsk and the Zaporizhia region. The country's foreign minister said nearly 500 drones and cruise missiles struck Ukraine overnight. Ukrainian officials warn Russia is shifting tactics, moving from overnight strikes to daytime barrages designed to maximize civilian casualties and expanding targets beyond energy infrastructure. Despite the bloodshed, Ukraine's President Zelensky says he has communicated an Easter ceasefire proposal to Moscow through US channels.
The US and Iran are racing to find a missing US pilot after 2 American fighter jets were shot down by Iran in separate incidents. Whilst 1 pilot was found, the US has launched a search and rescue operation to find the other, as Iran has urged its citizens to turn the pilot in if found. Meanwhile, Lebanon's southern city of Tyre was targeted by overnight Israeli bombings as well as Saturday strikes. The Israeli army has reissued most of the city with an evacuation order. Since the start of the war, 1.2 million people in Lebanon have been displaced. Overnight strikes also targeted Beirut. The Israeli military said on Saturday it had begun striking Hezbollah infrastructure. In Tehran, a psychiatric hospital was damaged by recent Israeli-US strikes, Iranian state media reported. 1 man was also killed in a strike on the nuclear facility of Bushehr. On Saturday, multiple Iranian strikes were reported on central Israel, including on the town of Ramat Gan and on the city of Bnei Brak, where 1 man was reportedly injured.
A Sea-Watch rescue ship arrived in the Italian island of Lampedusa on Saturday carrying 44 migrants rescued from an abandoned oil rig in the Mediterranean. Sea-Watch, a non-profit sea rescue group, said the migrants were taking refuge from a storm on the oil rig between Tunisia and Libya. In a separate incident, the Italian Coast Guard intercepted an overcrowded dinghy in distress some 80 nautical miles from Lampedusa on Tuesday. 58 people were pulled to safety, but 19 others were found dead. Lampedusa remains the main gateway into Europe for migrants making the crossing from North Africa, a journey that claims thousands of lives each year.